I never thought a routine Tuesday morning jog through Central Park would alter the course of my entire life. My name is Claire, and I was 34 years old, living what I believed was a perfect life in Manhattan with my husband Daniel and his daughter from his previous marriage, 16-year-old Sophia. The early October air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the distant aroma of coffee from street vendors. I had been running the same route for 3 years, ever since Daniel and I moved into our Upper East Side apartment. The path along the reservoir was my sanctuary, a place where I could clear my mind before facing another day of managing Daniel's construction company's finances. That morning, the park was busier than usual. Cyclists weaved between joggers, dog walkers clustered near the benches, and tourists snapped photos of the changing foliage. I was approaching mile 2 when I heard the screech of bicycle brakes behind me. "Watch out!" someone yelled. I turned instinctively, just as a cyclist, clearly inexperienced and panicked, crashed directly into me. The impact sent me flying sideways off the path. I remember the sensation of weightlessness, then the sickening crack as my body collided with a large oak tree. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. I couldn't move my legs, couldn't feel them at all. Oh my God, I'm so sorry." The cyclist, a young man in his 20s with tears streaming down his face, knelt beside me. I couldn't stop. The brakes weren't working properly. A crowd gathered quickly. Someone called 911. A woman who identified herself as a nurse knelt beside me, her hands gentle but urgent as she checked my pulse and tried to keep me conscious. "Stay with me, honey," she said softly. "Help is coming." "What's your name?" "Claire," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Claire Morrison." "My husband, Daniel Morrison. Please call him." The paramedics arrived within minutes, but they felt like hours. As they carefully strapped me to a backboard, I caught fragments of their radio communication. "Possible spinal injury, loss of sensation below the waist, need neurosurgery on standby." The ambulance ride to Mount Sinai Hospital was a blur of sirens, medical equipment, and the paramedics' calm but urgent voice asking me questions I struggled to answer. Through it all, one thought consumed me: Daniel. I needed Daniel. When we arrived at the emergency room, the chaos was immediate. Doctors and nurses surrounded my gurney, firing questions at the paramedics, examining me with practiced efficiency. Someone cut away my jogging clothes. Someone else inserted in 4. The overhead lights blurred together as we moved through corridors. "Mrs. Morrison, can you feel this?" Dr. Patricia Wells, the emergency room physician, pressed something sharp against my leg. I strained to feel anything at all. "No," I whispered, tears starting to flow. "I can't feel anything." "We're going to take you for some imaging," she explained, her voice professional but kind. "We need to see exactly what's happening with your spine." As they wheeled me toward radiology, I heard a familiar voice in the hallway. Daniel had arrived. "Where is she? Where's my wife?" His voice carried that authoritative tone he used in business negotiations, the one that usually got him what he wanted. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Despite our recent tensions, mostly about money and his increasing criticism of my contributions to the household, Daniel was here. He would take care of everything. The MRI was claustrophobic and noisy, but I tried to stay calm, focusing on the thought that soon I'd have answers. Soon I'd know how bad this was, and we could figure out how to fix it. When they wheeled me back to the trauma bay, Daniel was waiting. But his expression wasn't what I expected. Instead of concern or relief, his face showed something closer to irritation. "Claire, what the hell happened?" he asked, not even taking my hand. "I had to leave the Hartwell project meeting. Do you know how important that contract is?" There was an accident," I managed, confused by his cold tone. "A bicycle." "Jesus Christ," he muttered, running his hands through his salt and pepper hair. "This is the last thing we need right now." Dr. Wells returned with a tablet in her hands, her expression serious. "Mr. and Mrs. Morrison, I need to discuss the imaging results with you." Daniel barely looked up from his phone. "Just give us the bottom line document. Your wife has sustained a severe spinal cord injury at the L2 level, Dr. Wells explained carefully. There's significant swelling and compression. We're going to need to operate immediately to stabilize the area and reduce the pressure. Will I walk again? I asked, the question that had been consuming me since the accident. Dr. Wells hesitated. It's too early to know for certain. Spinal cord injuries are complex. We'll know more after the surgery and once the swelling goes down. Some patients recover partial or even full function, while others... She didn't need to finish the sentence. Daniel finally put his phone down. What are we talking about, timeline-wise? The surgery will take several hours. Recovery, that's a longer conversation. Months of rehabilitation, possibly years. And there's no guarantee of full recovery. I watched Daniel's face as the reality sank in. This wasn't going to be a quick fix. This was going to change everything. I need to make some calls, he said abruptly. Sophia's at school, and I have to reschedule everything. He kissed my forehead, but it felt perfunctory. I'll be back before your surgery. As he walked away, already dialing his phone, I felt more alone than I ever had in my life. The woman who had held our family together, who had managed his business finances and raised his daughter like my own, was now lying paralyzed in a hospital bed. And his first concern was his construction schedule. Dr. Wells squeezed my hand gently. Try to rest. We're going to take excellent care of you. But as they prepared me for surgery, one thought kept echoing in my mind. Daniel's reaction wasn't shock or fear. It was inconvenience. And something told me this was only the beginning of discovering what my husband really thought of me. The anesthesia began to take effect as they wheeled me into the operating room. My last conscious thought was wondering if the man I married would still be there when I woke up, or if this accident had just revealed who he truly was all along. Chapter 2. The Harshar. I woke up in the ICU 18 hours later, my body feeling like it was floating in a strange, disconnected way. The surgery had gone as well as could be expected, according to Dr. Wells, but the real test would come in the following days as the swelling reduced. Daniel was asleep in the chair beside my bed, his expensive suit wrinkled, his face showing exhaustion. For a moment, seeing him there, I felt a flicker of the old warmth. Maybe his reaction yesterday had just been shock. "Daniel!" I whispered. He stirred, checked his watch, then looked at me with tired eyes. "Hey, how are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck." I attempted a weak smile. "Or a bicycle." He didn't smile back. "The doctor says the surgery went okay, but..." He shrugged. "We'll see." Over the next few days, a parade of medical professionals visited my room. Physical therapists assessed my mobility, occupational therapists talked about adapting to daily life, social workers discussed insurance coverage and home modifications. Each conversation felt surreal, like they were talking about someone else's life. But the most difficult part was watching Daniel's attitude shift day by day. At first, he tried to maintain appearances. When our friends visited, his business partners mostly, since I'd lost touch with many of my own friends after marrying him, he played the devoted husband role perfectly. "Claire's a fighter," he'd say, holding my hand for show. "If anyone can beat this, she can." But when we were alone, the mask slipped. "The insurance is going to cover the hospital stay, but rehabilitation could take months," he said one evening, scrolling through his phone while talking to me. "And they're talking about modifying the apartment. Do you know what that costs in Manhattan?" "Daniel, I'm scared," I admitted. "I don't know if I'll ever walk again." He looked up from his phone briefly. "Well, dwelling on it won't help. You need to focus on getting better. We can't afford for this to drag on." Sophia visited once, brought by her maternal grandmother. The 16-year-old looked uncomfortable and sad, clearly not knowing what to say. "Are you going to be okay, Claire?" she asked quietly. "I'm going to do everything I can to get better," I assured her, squeezing her hand. But Daniel interrupted. "Sophie, your stepmom is going to need a lot of help. This is going to change things for all of us." The way he said it made it sound like I was choosing to be a burden. By the end of the first week, Daniel's visits became shorter and less frequent. He blamed work pressure, the Hartwell Project, urgent meetings. But I could see the truth in his eyes. I had become an inconvenience. The breaking point came on day 9. I had been transferred to a regular room and was working with my physical therapist, Monica, when I heard voices in the hallway. Daniel was talking to someone, his business partner, Richard, from the sound of it. "I don't know what I'm going to do," Daniel was saying. "She might never walk again. She can't work, can't take care of the house, can't take care of Sophie. She's basically—" I strained to hear, my heart pounding. "She's basically useless now," he continued. "I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? I'm 48 years old. I can't spend the rest of my life taking care of an invalid." The words hit me like a physical blow. Monica, who was adjusting my leg position, suddenly stopped moving. Her expression was carefully neutral, but I could see she had heard it too. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "People say things when they're scared and overwhelmed. It doesn't necessarily—" "No," I interrupted, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. "He meant it." Richard's voice was lower, harder to hear, but Daniel's response was clear. "I know it sounds harsh, but I have to be practical. I can't sacrifice my life, Sophie's future, for someone who might never contribute anything again." Monica quietly closed the door and sat beside my bed. "Mrs. Morrison, I've worked with spinal cord injuries for 15 years. What your husband said, that's not uncommon, unfortunately, but it's also not accurate. People with spinal injuries lead full, productive lives. They work, they maintain relationships, they contribute to their families and communities. But what if I don't recover?" I asked. "What if I never walk again?" "Then you adapt," she said firmly. "And the people who truly love you adapt with you. A good support system is crucial for recovery." "But Mrs. Morrison," she hesitated. "From what I just heard, I'm concerned about your support system at home." That evening, Daniel came to visit during dinner. He seemed agitated, checking his phone constantly. "I've been thinking," he said without preamble. "Maybe we should look into long-term care facilities, somewhere with specialized programs for people with your condition." "My condition?" I repeated. "Daniel, this is temporary rehabilitation. I'm going home. But what if you don't improve? What if you need permanent care? I can't. Claire, I can't put my life on hold indefinitely." "Your life on hold? I'm your wife." "You are my wife when you could actually be a wife," he snapped, then immediately looked like he regretted saying it. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean. This is just really hard." But the damage was done. In that moment, I saw our entire marriage with startling clarity. Daniel had married me not for love, but for convenience. I managed his household, helped with his business, raised his daughter. I was useful. And now that my usefulness was in question, so was my value to him. "I want you to leave," I said quietly. "Claire, leave. Now." After he left, I lay in the dark thinking about the last 3 years. How Daniel had gradually isolated me from my friends, convinced me to quit my job as an accountant to help with his business, made me financially dependent on him. How he'd criticized my cooking, my cleaning, my efforts with Sophia, making me feel like I was never quite good enough. I had thought it was just his personality, demanding, perfectionist. But now I understood it was control. He had systematically made me dependent on him, and now that I truly needed support, he was abandoning me. Monica knocked softly and entered with my evening medications. "Mrs. Morrison, I wanted to check on you after what happened earlier." "Monica," I said, "I need to ask you something. If I don't recover full use of my legs, can I still live independently?" "Absolutely. We'll work on transfers, wheelchair navigation, adaptive equipment. Many of my patients go home and resume full active lives. Even without family support." She sat down again. "It's harder, but yes. And Mrs. Morrison, there are resources. Social workers who specialize in difficult family situations. Legal advocates. You don't have to face this alone." That night I made a decision. Whether I walked again or not, I was going to reclaim my independence. I was going to find out exactly where I stood legally and financially. And I was going to discover who Claire Morrison really was beneath 3 years of Daniel's expectations and criticisms. What I didn't know was that someone else had been listening to those hallway conversations. And what I was about to learn would change everything, not just about my recovery, but about my entire future. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Dr. Jonathan Mills, the head of neurosurgery, entered my room with a grave expression and a thick folder under his arm. "Mrs. Morrison, I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to speak with you privately about your case," he said, closing the door behind him. "Of course, doctor. Is something wrong?" Dr. Mills pulled up a chair beside my bed. He was an older man, perhaps in his early 60s, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Something about his manner seemed different from the usual medical consultations. "I've been reviewing your scans and your progress reports," he began. "But I also overheard part of a conversation your husband had in the hallway yesterday. My office is just around the corner." My cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Dr. Mills, Please, let me finish," he said gently. "In my 30 years of practice, I've seen how spinal cord injuries affect not just patients, but entire families. Unfortunately, I've also seen how some family members react when they believe a patient might not make a full recovery." He opened the folder and showed me my latest MRI images. "Mrs. Morrison, I have very good news. The swelling in your spinal cord has reduced significantly. More importantly, we're seeing signs of nerve regeneration that weren't apparent immediately after surgery." My heart leaped. "What does that mean?" "It means you have an excellent chance of regaining substantial function in your lower extremities. I'd estimate a 70 to 80% probability of walking again, possibly with minimal or no assistive devices." Tears of relief began flowing. "Are you sure?" "As sure as I can be at this stage. But here's what concerns me." He leaned forward slightly. "Recovery from this type of injury requires intensive rehabilitation, strong emotional support, and a positive environment. Based on what I overheard yesterday, I'm not confident you'll have those things at home. Dr. Mills, I appreciate your concern, but—" "Mrs. Morrison, may I speak frankly?" When I nodded, he continued, "I've been married for 38 years. When my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer 15 years ago, I never once thought of her as useless. I thought about how grateful I was to still have her and how I could help her fight. Your husband's reaction, it's not normal. It's not love." His words echoed what I'd been realizing but hadn't wanted to admit. "More importantly," he continued, "I'm concerned about your financial situation. Has your husband discussed insurance coverage with you? He mentioned that rehabilitation might be expensive." Dr. Mills frowned. "Mrs. Morrison, your insurance policy through your husband's company covers 100% of rehabilitation costs for spinal cord injuries. There's also a substantial disability benefit you're entitled to. Has anyone explained this to you?" "No," I said slowly. "Daniel handles all the insurance matters." "I see." Dr. Mills made a note in my chart. "I'm going to have our social worker, Patricia Williams, come speak with you today. She specializes in helping patients understand their rights and benefits." After Dr. Mills left, I felt a mixture of hope and unease. Hope because I might walk again, but unease because it seemed Daniel had been keeping important information from me. Patricia Williams arrived that afternoon. She was a sharp woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense attitude and a briefcase full of documents. "Dr. Mills asked me to review your case," she said, settling into the visitor's chair. "Let's start with insurance. Are you aware of your coverage details?" My husband said it was complicated. Patricia's expression hardened slightly. "Mrs. Morrison, it's not complicated at all. Your rehabilitation is fully covered. Additionally, you're entitled to disability payments that begin immediately and continue during your recovery period. We're talking about approximately $4,800 per month." My jaw dropped. I had no idea. "Furthermore," Patricia continued, "if your injury results in permanent partial disability, you're entitled to a lump sum settlement that could range from $250,000 to $500,000, depending on the extent of any permanent limitations." The room felt like it was spinning. Daniel never mentioned any of this. That's unfortunately common in cases where there are marital difficulties. Patricia's tone was careful but pointed. Mrs. Morrison, I need to ask you some questions, and I want you to know that everything you tell me is confidential. For the next hour, Patricia asked about my marriage, my financial independence, and my plans for recovery. As I answered her questions, a disturbing picture emerged. Mrs. Morrison, Patricia said finally, I believe your husband may be attempting to minimize your knowledge of your benefits while positioning himself to gain control over any settlements. Have you considered consulting with an attorney? I don't even know any attorneys. Patricia handed me a business card. This is Lauren Martinez. She specializes in disability rights and family law. She's helped many of my patients navigate similar situations. That evening, Monica arrived for our physical therapy session with unusual energy. Mrs. Morrison, I have something exciting to show you, she said, wheeling over a specialized standing frame. Dr. Mills cleared you to try standing with support. My heart raced as she helped transfer me into the device. Slowly, carefully, she raised the platform until I was upright. For the first time in 2 weeks, I was standing. How does this feel? Monica asked. Amazing, I breathed. But then I noticed something else. Monica, I think I can feel pressure in my left foot. Her eyes widened. Are you sure? Press on it again, I said. Yes, I can feel it. Monica immediately called Dr. Mills, who arrived within minutes, and conducted a thorough neurological examination. This is excellent progress, he said with a genuine smile. Mrs. Morrison, I'm now very optimistic about your recovery. I think we should discuss discharge planning. Discharge. I felt a moment of panic. But I can barely stand. To a rehabilitation hospital, he clarified. Somewhere you can work intensively on mobility training. I'm thinking about the Rusk Institute. It's one of the best facilities in the country, and your insurance will cover a full stay. As Dr. Mills left to make arrangements, Monica sat beside me. Mrs. Morrison, can I tell you something? I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've never seen a husband react the way yours has. Most spouses are here constantly, asking questions, learning how to help. Your husband acts like this is happening to him, not to you. I'm starting to realize that, I admitted. There's something else, Monica said hesitantly. Yesterday, when he was in the hallway talking about you being, well, you heard what he said. There was another woman with him. A blonde woman in a business suit. They seemed close. My blood went cold. Close how? She had her hand on his arm while he was talking. It looked intimate. I'm sorry, I debated whether to tell you. I closed my eyes, feeling the pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. Daniel's increasing absences, his impatience with my recovery, his talk about long-term care facilities. He wasn't just seeing me as useless, he was planning to replace me. Monica, I said, when I transfer to the rehabilitation hospital, I don't want Daniel to know where I'm going. Mrs. Morrison, I'm serious. I need time to figure out what's really happening in my life. Can that be arranged? I'll speak with Dr. Mills and the social worker. But are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. That night, as I lay in bed feeling the gradual return of sensation to my legs, I made a plan. I would recover, not for Daniel, not to prove my worth to him, but for myself. I would investigate the financial benefits I was entitled to. I would find out who the blonde woman was, and I would discover exactly what my husband had been planning while I lay helpless in this hospital bed. What I didn't realize was that my investigation would uncover secrets that went far deeper than an affair. Secrets that would not only change my life, but potentially land Daniel in serious legal trouble. Lauren Martinez, the attorney Patricia had recommended, visited me the day before my transfer to the rehabilitation hospital. She was a petite woman with fierce eyes and an air of competence that immediately put me at ease. Mrs. Morrison, I've reviewed the preliminary information Patricia provided, she said, opening a leather portfolio. I want to be direct with you. Based on what I'm seeing, I believe your husband may be committing financial fraud. What do you mean? Your disability benefits, should have started the day after your accident. It's been 2 weeks, and no claim has been filed. Your husband, as your power of attorney for financial matters, would typically handle this, but he hasn't. That's $9,600 in benefits you should have received by now. I felt sick. He has power of attorney. Yes, you sign documents when you help with his business. Did you read them carefully? I closed my eyes, remembering signing various papers Daniel had brought home, trusting him completely. No, I didn't. Furthermore, Lauren continued, I did some preliminary research on your husband's construction company. He's been having serious financial difficulties for the past 6 months. The Hartwell project he keeps mentioning, it's in jeopardy because of cost overruns and deadline delays. Your potential settlement money would solve his cash flow problems. How do you know all this? Public records, court filings, industry contacts, Lauren said. Mrs. Morrison, I believe your husband is hoping you don't recover fully so he can claim a larger settlement, while also minimizing what you know about your rights. It's a form of financial abuse. I was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. What can I do? First, we immediately revoke his power of attorney and file for your disability benefits. Second, we begin investigating his financial dealings more thoroughly. And third, we document everything about your recovery. Why document my recovery? Lauren's expression grew serious. Because if your husband has been misrepresenting your condition to insurance companies or potential legal settlements, that's fraud. The better your recovery, the more his lies will be exposed. The next morning, I was transferred to the Rusk Institute. Daniel was told I was being moved to a different facility for specialized treatment, but not which one. He seemed almost relieved when the social worker called him. That's probably for the best, he said over the phone. I'll visit when I can. But he didn't ask for the address. He didn't ask about visiting hours. His lack of curiosity told me everything I needed to know. At Rusk, my progress accelerated dramatically. Dr. Rachel Kumar, my rehabilitation physician, was amazed by my improvement. Mrs. Morrison, in 2 weeks you've gone from complete paralysis to taking supported steps. She marveled during my 3rd week there. This is extraordinary progress. Dr. Mills said I had a good chance of recovery. I replied, gripping the parallel bars as I took another shaky step forward. Good chance. Mrs. Morrison, you're experiencing near complete recovery. I expect you'll be walking independently within another month. The physical progress was matched by emotional growth. Away from Daniel's negativity and criticism, I began to remember who I was before our marriage. I had been confident, successful, independent. I could be those things again. Meanwhile, Lauren had been busy. She called me 3 weeks into my rehabilitation stay with shocking news. Claire, I need you to sit down for this, she said. My investigation into Daniel's finances has uncovered something significant. What did you find? Your husband has been embezzling money from client accounts to cover his operating expenses. The Hartwell project money that belongs to his client, has been used to pay other bills. He's been running a kind of Ponzi scheme, using new client funds to pay old debts. My heart sank. Are you sure? I have bank records, email communications, everything. Claire, he's probably facing criminal charges when this comes out. But there's more. More. The blonde woman Monica saw him with? Her name is Jessica Walsh. She's his business accountant, and she's been helping him hide the money trail. They've also been having an affair for at least 8 months. I felt oddly relieved rather than devastated. What happens now? Now we protect you. We make sure you're financially secure before this all comes crashing down. And Claire, we need to discuss divorce. I've been thinking about that too. Good, because I've found something else. Daniel took out a $200,000 life insurance policy on you 6 months ago, right around the time his financial troubles started getting serious. The implication hit me like a physical blow. You think he wanted me to? I think a man desperate enough to steal from clients might be desperate enough for other solutions. Claire, I want you to stay at Rusk until we can ensure your safety. 4 weeks after entering rehabilitation, I was walking independently. My legs were weak, and I tired easily, but I was mobile. Dr. Kumar was so impressed she asked if she could present my case at a medical conference. "You're going to inspire so many people," she said. "Your recovery is remarkable." But the most remarkable thing was how I felt about myself. For the first time in years, I was proud of my strength, my determination, my resilience. I wasn't useless. I wasn't a burden. I was a survivor. The confrontation came 5 weeks after my transfer to Rusk. Daniel finally tracked me down after Lauren filed divorce papers and froze his access to our joint accounts. He stormed into my room at the rehabilitation center, his face red with anger. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he demanded. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he demanded. "Divorce papers? Freezing accounts. I've been worried sick about you." I was sitting in a chair by the window, fully dressed, looking healthier and stronger than I had in months. The shock on his face when he saw me walking was priceless. "Hello, Daniel," I said calmly. "You look surprised. You're walking. The doctors said you might never walk again." "No, Daniel. You said I might never walk again. You said I was useless. The doctors always said I had a good chance of recovery." His composure cracked. "Claire, I was scared, overwhelmed. I said things I didn't mean. You meant every word." I stood up slowly, demonstrating my mobility. "But that's not why I'm divorcing you." "Then why?" "Because I know about the embezzlement. I know about Jessica. I know about the life insurance policy you took out on me." I walked closer to him. "I know everything, Daniel." His face went pale. "Claire, I can explain." "No need. The FBI will want their own explanations. Lauren's already turned over the financial records." As if summoned, Lauren appeared in the doorway with 2 federal agents. "Daniel Morrison," one of them said, "you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and insurance fraud." As they led him away in handcuffs, Daniel looked back at me desperately. "Claire, please. I love you. I was going to fix everything." "No, Daniel," I replied. "You were going to let me believe I was worthless while you stole my benefits and planned my funeral. But I'm not the useless one in this marriage. I never was." 6 months later, I was walking through Central Park again, the same path where my accident had occurred. But this time, I wasn't running from anything. I was walking toward a new life. Daniel had pled guilty to multiple felony charges and was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Jessica Walsh received 3 years for her role in the scheme. The stolen money was recovered, and I received my full disability settlement plus damages. Sophia, now 17, had chosen to live with her maternal grandmother but visited me regularly. Our relationship, freed from Daniel's toxic influence, had grown stronger. "Claire," she said during one of our coffee dates, "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you more when Dad was being awful." "Honey, you were just a kid trying to navigate a difficult situation," I assured her. Besides, standing up for myself was something I had to learn to do. I had used part of my settlement to start my own accounting firm, specializing in helping small businesses avoid the kind of financial troubles that had led to Daniel's downfall. Ironically, his business failures had taught me exactly what not to do. Monica, my physical therapist, had become a close friend. We had lunch regularly, and she often marveled at my transformation. "You're like a completely different person," she said one afternoon. "Stronger, more confident." "I think I'm more myself than I've been in years," I replied. Turns out being useless was the most useful thing that ever happened to me. The accident that could have destroyed my life had instead saved it. It had forced me to discover my own strength, to recognize my worth, and to build the independent life I should have been living all along. As I walked through the park that day, I thought about Dr. Mill's words on that terrible morning when I thought my world was ending. "Your husband's reaction isn't normal. It's not love." He was right. But what I had learned was that real love, love for yourself, love from true friends, love from family who see your worth, that kind of love doesn't disappear when you face challenges. It grows stronger. I was no longer Claire Morrison, the woman who existed to serve someone else's needs. I was simply Claire, walking, working, thriving, and finally, truly useful to the person who mattered most, myself. And every step I took was a reminder that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can lead to the best life you never knew you deserved.